Welcome back, warrior. So remember our treadmill broke, so we are reading 2 Kings chapter 2 here instead until we get our new treadmill. So some good things to know is that Jesus' miracles parallel several of Elisha's, with the New Testament presenting Jesus as a greater prophet. Key parallels include multiplying food to feed many, so that will reference 2 Kings chapter 4, but then John chapter 6 when Christ is doing it. And then raising the dead, we have 2 Kings chapter 4, but then Luke chapter 7 on this side, and cleansing leprosy, we have 2 Kings chapter 5, and then Mark 1. See, I'm getting my fingers messed up. And then did you know Elijah is taken up in a whirlwind, and Elisha receives his mantle. A mantle was a cloak or outer garment worn in biblical times, often made of animal hair or simple cloth, symbolically representing authority, calling, and responsibility, especially for the prophets. And this kind of reminds me of that quote from President Monson, who said that we have the robe of responsibility, not the cloak of comfort. But we all want the cloak of comfort and not the robe of responsibility, right? And when I think of a cloak of comfort, I'm thinking of like one of those blankies that are so cozy, right? Anyway, I think I think of that quote often. And then definitions: miracle, an extraordinary event caused by the power of God. They include healings, restoring the dead to life, and resurrection. Miracles are a part of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I feel like I call more things than that miracles in my life. Oh, excuse me. And miracles are a part of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Faith is necessary in order for miracles to be manifested. Yes, that's found in Guide to the Scriptures Miracle. But I have a friend who is so awesome, and she is always talking about how many miracles she has in her life. And she's like, the smallest thing, she'll be like, miracles every day. And I'm just like, yes, I love that, because it is something we need to think about. Okay. Here we go. 2 Kings chapter 2. And we will have that redheaded hostess commentary sometimes while we're reading, and to my own commentary. Okay, Elisha, the prophet, and the prophets know that Elijah is to be translated. Elijah divides the waters of the Jordan and is taken up into heaven in a whirlwind. The mantle of Elijah falls on Elisha, who also divides the waters of the Jordan. Elisha heals the waters of Jericho. Youths are torn by bears for mocking Elisha. Okay, just be careful. I'm wearing my shirt inside out because my team gave me a shirt that has a cuss word on it. Don't we love that? Anyway, it's kind of it's a funny shirt still, but yeah. Anyway, we try not to encourage that kind of negativity, I guess. Okay, and it came to pass when the Lord would take up Elijah into heaven by a whirlwind, that Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal. And Elijah said unto Elisha, Tarry here, I pray thee, for the Lord hath sent me to Bethel. And Elisha said unto him, As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. So they went down to Bethel. And the sons of the prophets that were at Bethel came forth to Elijah and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Lord will take away thy master from thy head today? And he said, Yea, I know it. Hold your peace. That's funny. And Elijah said unto him, Elisha, tarry here, I pray thee, for the Lord hath sent me to Jericho. And he said, As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. So they came to Jericho. And the sons of the prophets that were at Jericho came to Elisha and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Lord will take away thy master from thy head today? And he answered, Yea, I know it. Hold your peace. Hold ye your peace. Which is so crazy to me. Like, what's up? Like, yes, I know the prophet is gonna die soon or be taken soon. That's like irrelevant. I don't know. And sad reminder. Um, and Elijah said unto him, Tarry, I pray thee, here, for the Lord hath sent me to Jordan. And he said, As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. And they two went on. And 50 men of the sons of the prophets went and stood to view afar off. And they too stood by Jordan. And Elijah took his mantle and wrapped it together and smote the waters, and they were divided hither and thither, so that they too went over on dry ground. And it came to pass, when they were gone over, that Elijah said unto Elisha, Ask what I shall do for thee before I be taken away from thee. And Elisha said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me. And he said, Thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee. But if not, it shall not be so. And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by the whirlwind into heaven. And Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel, and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more. And he took hold of his own clothes and rent them into two pieces. And he took up also the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and went back and stood by the bank of Jordan. And he took the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and smote the waters, and said, Where is the Lord God of Elijah? And when he also had smitten the waters, they parted hither and thither, and Elisha went over. Okay, so that's cool that he is now witnessing and being a part of his own miracles, right? With the Lord. And yeah, excuse me. It is because I'm not walking that this is happening. And when the sun, so anyway, that was his first miracle without Elijah. And when the sons of the prophets, which were in to view at Jericho, saw him, they said, The spirit of Elijah doth rest on Elisha. And they came to meet him, and bowed themselves to the ground before him. And they said unto him, Behold, now there be with thy servants 50 strong men. Let them go, we pray thee, and seek thy master, lest peradventure the spirit of the Lord hath taken him up, and cast him upon some mountain, or into the valley. And he said, Ye shall not send. And when they urged him till he was ashamed, he said, Send. They sent therefore 50 men, and they sought 3 days, but found him not. And when they came again to him, for he tarried at Jericho, he said unto them, Did I not say unto you, Go not? And the men of the city said unto Elisha, Behold, I pray thee, the situation of this city is pleasant, as my Lord seeth, but the water is not, and the ground barren. And he said, Bring me a new cruse, and put salt therein. And they brought it to him. And he went forth unto the spring of the waters, and cast the salt in there, and said, Thus saith the Lord, I have healed these waters. There shall not be from thence any more death or barren land. So the waters were healed unto this day, according to the saying of Elisha, which he spake. How cool is that? And verse 23, and he went up from thence unto Bethel. And as he was going up by the way, there came forth little children out of the city, and mocked him, and said unto him, Go up, thou bald head. Go up, thou bald head. So. And he turned back and looked on them, and cursed them in the name of the Lord. And there came forth 2 she-bears out of the wood, and tear 42 children of them. What? And he went from thence to Mount Carmel, and from thence he returned to Samaria. Okay, I have some issues with this. Let's see what Redheaded Hostess says about this. So first, how Elijah was not at the end of his mortal now at the end of his mortal life. Oh, man. And he knew he was beginning to his final journey. He told Elisha to stay in Gilgal, but Elisha refused and gave strongest kind answer, as the Lord liveth and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee, right? By beginning to answer with an oath by the Lord's life combined with the oath of Elijah's life, it was the most empathetic and solemn answer Elijah could give. Elisha was simply not leaving Elijah. We can see why Elisha answered this way because of what happened in verse 3. Once Elijah and Elisha arrived in Bethel, the sons of the prophets came to Elisha and said, "What? Don't you know that your prophet's going to be taken by the Lord?" Yeah. That Elijah was going to be taken from the earth. The term sons of the prophets refers to those who are being brought up and tutored. Some scholars use the phrase school of the prophets here. So the idea is that these sons were aware of what was coming for Elijah and came to Elisha and mentioned that the Lord was taking Elijah away. Well, yeah, but he's also like old, so, and that's what happens to all prophets, right? So I didn't even think that was any big deal. And again in Bethel, Elijah told Elisha to stay, and again Elisha refused to go. So they went to Jericho together, and then they went to the Jordan River together. And when they arrived at the Jordan River, Elijah parted the waters, and he and Elisha passed over. But then typically we associate parting of waters with Moses, but we must remember that so did Joshua and so did Elijah. But clearly so did Elisha, right? Okay. Then as they were walking, a chariot of fire and horses of fire appeared and took Elijah. Oh my goodness. I can't get these guys straight. They took Elijah into heaven. Elder Bednar taught this. At the conclusion of Elijah's mortal ministry, he went up by a whirlwind into heaven and was translated. End quote. The talk is The Hearts of the Children Shall Turn. October 2011 General Conference. Okay. And then Elijah needed to be translated because he would later appear along with Moses, who was also translated to Peter, James, and John to bestow priesthood keys, and Elijah would need his body for this special mission. Okay, that makes sense then. Even though this moment was glorious, Elisha mourned the loss of Elijah and cried, my father, and Elisha rent his clothes, which was a sign of great mourning. So he tore his clothes open. I don't even understand that, but it's definitely symbolic, right? Of our heartbreaking when our friends die or when our family members die. And it seemed like Elisha was really close with Elijah. And then Elisha took the mantle, and then he used it to part the Jordan River, just as Elijah had done. And Elisha was now the prophet, and the sons of God witnessed and said, the spirit of Elijah doth rest on Elisha. Okay. Some understanding, let's see. The sons of the prophets did not have the same understanding as Elisha. Elisha understood that Elijah had to be translated and had completed his mortal experience. The sons of the prophets wondered if Elijah had been taken somewhere else and wanted to search for him. Elisha told them not to go, but upon constant urging, Elisha told them to go ahead and search. Go find. Okay, I guess you're just going to find nothing. But they did not find him, and Elisha simply said, like, didn't I tell you not to go? Like, I don't know why this is a shock to you. So how wise will I'm sorry, okay. How wise we would all be to listen to the prophets the first time. The first time. Okay, so the waters healed by Elisha is a miracle. Um but then we also see that the bald men scorning things. So we're going to see the footnote here, okay, because I have issues with a prophet of the Lord doing anything to little children. Okay, so also, so what if somebody calls you bald? Okay. So they were mocking him because he was bald or whatever. And in 2 Kings 2:23, footnote A, we learn that the people who mocked Elisha were youths, not little children. The youths were likely young men who were old enough to go into battle. The phrase, "Go up, thou bald head," was intentionally mocking, scorning, and jeering that showed the youth's contempt for God's chosen prophet. Okay, so they were likely men old enough to go into battle. Additionally, the bears likely did not kill the youths when Elisha cursed them in the name of the Lord. He called upon the Lord to punish them. It is the opposite of blessing someone in the name of the Lord. The bears did not kill the offenders, as some commentaries assume, but tear or lacerated them. Okay. I don't know about that. I don't know how bears act, so I can't really corroborate that. Anyway, okay, so that is it for chapter 2. Let me get the read it, live it. Also, I decided that I'm not going to be able to sit that way. My neck is just like so bad. Okay, so here we go. This is our read it, live it. And it says, the scriptures, verse 9, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me. Elisha asked a hard thing of Elijah. He wanted to carry the work further. I love that he asked for a double portion, right? And it's like, give me strength. I think that that's what he was asking, because we need that courage, we need that added strength if we're going to carry the work further. And I bet that he wanted a double, not necessarily a double portion of what Elijah had, but a double portion because he probably felt like this that I'm feeling isn't enough courage and isn't enough strength or whatever. But that if you could give me double of what this is, then I think I could handle it. It's kind of like that. So ask for more of the Spirit. Okay, so this is so cool because this kind of happened to me just recently. I was called to be a temple assistant supervisor in charge of refresh training. And to me, so working in the temple is like amazing, right? And such an awesome experience for me to be in there twice a week. And sometimes more if I go extra. Because I purposely took like 2 shifts because I love it so much. Anyway, and like to find substitutes for myself whenever I'm out of town, because I have 2 jobs. I mean, I have like 10 jobs, but anyway, my one job requires me to go out of town. And when I go out of town, I need to get substitutes for my temple shifts. And so it's easy to get temple coverage because we have so many people to choose from, right? Because now that I work throughout the whole temple and rotate throughout, in the Timpanogos temple, I used to only work in the baptistry. So I only had baptistry workers to sub for me, but now I have like everyone in the temple could cover for me, except, brothers. And so all the sisters, I can ask for sisters to cover my shift. But then when I got called as supervisor, I'm like, assistant supervisor, I'm like, wait, what? It's kind of throwing it all off because I'm like, wait, I don't think there's that many supervisors. And so, like, am I going to be able to easily find substitutes? And so I was feeling a little bit, I don't know how to say it, TO'd. And so, anyway, I went for my first shift of the training to be the refresh trainer, and my first shift of um, where I was going to be the assistant. And so I was, I needed to shadow somebody, and like I'm learning all these things. And the prayer that I had in my heart was very similar to this prayer that Elisha had, which is strengthen me for this calling. And it wasn't even the strength that I needed, but what my specific prayer is, hey, will you bless me to be excited about this calling? Because I don't want to have that attitude of like, oh, I'm going, like I don't want that. I want to be excited. Like I'm the kind of person that needs to be excited about things in order to do them. I don't, I don't know why. I mean, I guess everybody's like that, right? Like you want to be excited about things in order to do them. And I wanted to be excited about this calling to serve in this way in the temple and not feel like, oh, how could they, like, I don't know what that feeling is. I don't know. I don't have that word in my vocabulary, I guess. Anyway, and disgusted. Maybe it's disgusted. I definitely did not want to feel disgusted. And I love going to the temple, and I didn't want this calling to take my love away from the temple because I love the temple and I love being in the Lord's house. And so that was my prayer when I went in, and I was like, bless me to be more excited about this. Bless me to find the things that I could get excited about. Bless me to be grateful and not feel disgusted with this calling or with anyone about it, right? And what I found was that by the like halfway through, I was like finding different things that I was excited about, and I was like, okay, this is cool, and I'm like, okay, this would be fun, and then just like different little things that I was receiving while I was being trained. And towards the end, I even stayed extra. But towards the end, I was so grateful that my prayer had been answered because I really am excited about this calling. And I wasn't before. And now I know that I'll be able to be excited. And I have to wake up earlier. And I didn't realize that because that's not what they said at the beginning. I'm like, do I have to wake up earlier? Do I have to stay later? And of course, they're like, no, you don't have to, which feels weird after getting the training. I'm like, I don't think they know what these people do. Anyway, so I am so grateful that my prayer was answered. And I bet that Elisha was also grateful that his prayer was answered. Even at that first part when he needed to part the waters, right? Like, we want to do the work of the Lord, but we want to be excited about doing the work of the Lord. And we need those assurances that He is with us throughout that time when we are doing the Lord's work. Because if He's not with us, we won't be excited about doing the work. That's the whole point. I want to do things that Christ would do, and I want to know that He will be with me, because then I know I'll be excited about it, because I'm always excited about time with the Lord. So anyway, it was a great experience for me, and I'm grateful that I had that prayer in my heart to begin with, and that it was answered in that way for me. So Anyway, what is that thing that you have been asked to do that maybe feels like, I can't believe this, or like you get that disgusted feeling? And how could you ask the Lord for more strength to be able to do that thing? Because you want to, but you don't know how you're going to be excited about it. That's my challenge. Ask for more of the Spirit. And that's how we'll get more excited about things. Okay, until 2 Kings chapter 3, stay strong, warrior.